Rockwell Radio.
Brothers and sisters,
Radio. Rockwell Radio.
brothers and sisters,
Radio. Fuck. Rockwell Radio.
brothers and sisters,
Radio.
Yo, this is Problem 13 of Wolverine.
Radio.
I'm listening
Radio.
to DJ Rockwell. Holla!
Peace. Here we go. Episode number 8. This is your brother DJ Rockwell, the nation's number one DJ, and you are tuned in to the Rockwell Radio Show. We got another hot episode for you tonight. And before we begin, we want to make sure that everybody goes to subscribe. Go to YouTube if you're watching via YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe and the like button. We got to get this show to where it belongs, number one, because it's the show for you, the people. Welcome. Again, my name is DJ Rockwell, the nation's number one DJ. And as you know, as you have heard, if you haven't been living under a rock for the last week or week and a half, Ice Cube has been in the headlines. He's been in the media. They've been coming after him. They've been upset with brother Ice Cube. And I tell you what, it's been a highly emotionally charged conversation. Ice Cube decided he was going to draft what's known as the contract with Black America. Hashtag CWBA. And he put it out there for the world to look at. He put it to the present administration, and he put it to the administration that's running against him, Trump, Biden. He has said, I don't care who wins. We need to have these issues examined, and we need to hold your foot to the fire. Cube said, I'm not with anybody particularly. I'm not here to take sides. I'm here to get something for my vote. Several months before that, just to give a little context, Diddy got in hot water because Diddy, our brother P. Diddy, he said, you know what? We're going to hold the vote hostage. We need to get something in exchange for our vote. Is that such a foreign concept? Is that idea something that we should cringe about? Should we ask for something in exchange for our vote? Well, Cube did. He not only did that, he just said, let's put pen to paper. You know what? We want this. Matter of fact, it's a contract. We need you to sign this. We need something from you. It's no longer business as usual. We just vote blue, vote blue, vote blue, vote blue. No more. So now here we are, less than 2 weeks away. And when Cube started going public, and by the way, he's been going public since June and July with CWBA. The response has been absolutely full of vitriol in some cases. And matter of fact, we're going to play a clip because I want you to see some of the tweets that have just happened in the last 7 days. So before we get started, I want you to see this. Ice Cube, this is what I think about you.
Here's what they think about. 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 about. Here's what they think 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 about. Here's what they think. Here's what they think about. 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 Here's what they think about.
So as you can see, the temperature has run hot over this subject. As you can see, the people feel away. We had to bring this conversation, we had to bring that conversation to the Rockwell Radio Show. So we wanted to have a dialogue because all of the posts that you've been seeing has been either hard this way on it or hard that way on the subject. Why not have a dialogue, not a debate, a dialogue, discussing, is Cube helping us or hurting us? Looking at both sides of the cube. We're going to bring on the show, I'm going to introduce my first guest. This brother, the nation knows very well, longtime soldier for Muhammad. Brother is the host of an absolutely great podcast that comes on weekly. I believe it airs on Sundays. The name of the show is, let me get it right, I Have a Testimony. Please welcome to the Rockwell Radio Show, my brother and yours, Brother Willie Muhammad.
Peace, man. Yo, I'm gonna have to get you to make me an intro, boy. That was tight.
My brother.
How you doing, man?
Brother, it's an honor to have you. Honor to have you. Honor to have you.
Man, thank you for the opportunity. And my brother, thank you for the musical presentations that you did.
Oh, brother, it's an honor. Honor. I don't know. Did I lose you? Did you freeze? Brother Willie, are you still with me? Did you freeze up a little bit? Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to have Brother Willie come back to us in just a second while he unfreezes. What I would like you to do, share the show, hit the like button, because when brother comes back, we're going to start untangling this situation. Is Cube helping us or hurting us? And I tell you what, if we get an opportunity after all this is over, we're going to open up the phone lines because we want to hear your opinion as well. Later in the show, in the second half of the show. So until then, we want everybody to hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that like button, hit that share button. Because then we're going to introduce our second guest who will be with us momentarily. And he is going to he's going to present the opposing side. And this is one thing I want to say out front. So many of us, and let me say this right, I want to use the right language. We participate in cancel culture when people disagree with us. We have to learn how to have a deliberative dialogue where even if we disagree, we don't necessarily wipe our hands of the disagreeing party. I'm gonna say it again. We need to be able to disagree without wiping our hands of the opposing idea. Why do we do that? You saw those texts. Those texts, just some of them pure vitriol, some of them absolutely personal. Why? So today, the objective for me is going to be to host a conversation, a dialogue. And something I learned from our brother, Dr. Wesley. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan taught Brother Wesley that have dialogues, not debates, dialogues, because in debates, there has to be a winner and a loser. In dialogues, everyone learns. So I see Brother Willie's not back with us, but my second guest is with us. I want to introduce a brother I've known for many years from the St. Louis area, from the East St. Louis area. We both grew up in that part of the country. And brother is a longtime social activist. He was on the ground during the Ferguson uprisings, politically astute, and he is also a former elected official himself. Please welcome to the Rockwell Radio Show, my brother, Kenric Richardson.
Hello, Rockwell. How's it going, man?
Peace, black man. How you feel, my brother?
Man, I'm feeling good.
Brother, thank you for being a guest. It appears that our brother Willie is having some technical issues.
Okay.
He stepped out for a moment, and I'm hoping that he shall return. So before my brother gets on the air with us, and before we engage in what we're going to talk about, you saw the tweets. You saw how people feel. So,
yeah.
And again, if you're just tuning in, you are tuned into the Rockwell Radio Show. This is DJ Rockwell, the nation's #1 DJ. And you can follow us here on the Rockwell Radio Show every Saturday at 7 p.m. Hot show lineup today. So, brother, since you're with us, we're going to just ask you just a bit of your background so
Sure.
those who are watching can get to know who you are. As I mentioned, your background is in social activism. Give us a picture of your beginning as Ferguson unraveled.
I can tell you, I personally found out about the situation while I was on the road. I was on my way back to St. Louis from a road trip and found out that something had happened in the Canfield Apartments. And as I was returning to the city, come to find out, so many people that I knew personally actually knew either Mike Brown or or Mike Brown Sr. And so everything just it just bubbled up, and you felt it. You felt it in the city, and it was personal because that's our backyard, and so it made you want to go down there, wanted to see what was going on, want to make sure that that we were being protected, that we were being represented, that we had a voice. And it all came together at the same time. Everyone's voice came together, and we spoke loud, man. And it was just a tragic situation, but that was what, for me, sparked activism when it comes to me personally. When I got down there, I started to see that it wasn't just me. It was people who I went to school with, who I went to elementary school with, who I went to college with. Like, everyone got involved. It was totally a community thing. And I was very proud of my city. I didn't know that we even had that in us. Really.
Sure, absolutely.
So that's what got me involved in everything. I was already working with at the time with the city of East St. Louis and City Hall there. But this was something that was really personal to me because that was my area,
Okay. I tell you what, I see Brother Willie is back in the waiting room. And by the way, you have a frozen screen. Your audio is still live, but your screen is frozen. So what I would like you to do, I'm gonna pull you out to allow you to refresh and then come back. So I'll give Brother Willie the opportunity that I just gave you to do a quick introduction. Stand by. Brother Willie.
Peace, man. Yeah, thank you, Thank you, my brother. I apologize. Something happened. It just froze, man. But thank you for this opportunity. And I also, as I was saying before it got cut off, I want to thank you for the music that you have been spending during this COVID, man. You know, so much part of our lives, music is so important. And for us to be in our homes and be able to get online and hear you mix and master some of the great hip hop and reggae and all of the other stuff, even artists in the Nation of Islam, man, I really want to appreciate you and express my gratitude for that. And even for our guests, a lot of times, brother, we don't say thank you enough. And I want to thank that brother for the work that he and his family have been doing for the city of East St. Louis and what they did for our brothers and sisters during the Ferguson. So appreciate your work, man.
You are tuned in to the Rockwell Radio Show. My name is DJ Rockwell, and I've got not one guest, but two guests. Brother Kenric is back live. He has got motion, and he is in the building. I allowed Brother Kenric just to give a brief background on himself before we begin. Can you please do the same, Brother Willie?
I'm a New Orleans native, born and raised in the city of New Orleans. I'm currently striving to be the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 46. You know, a lot of times, brother, I don't really, when people be talking about minister, you know how some people get about titles and all of that, but
yes, sir.
I look at it the way that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as he said, the title simply means servant. You know, I don't really, that's how I look at it. I see myself as a servant, and that's what I've been striving to do my best, man, to do.
All right, brothers. With no further ado, I'm going to pull the background music all the way out because I want every word spoken today to be heard loud and clear. For those who are watching, please hit the like button. Please hit the share button. You can comment. There are comments in the room I'm seeing already that are there. We're going to make sure that we share every one of them. Like this one, for example. If you're commenting, I can put your comment on the screen just like this. If you have a question that you'd like to ask either of our guests as we get into the dialogue, feel free to leave a comment. And God willing, if time permits, at the later half of the show, we will open up the phones and you can call in and talk directly to either of our guests. But for now, make sure you hit that share button, hit that like button. And if you're watching via YouTube, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, get those notifications. So every time that we go live, you're live with us. So brothers, with no further ado, the question on the table that we're going to be talking about today is Ice Cube helping us or hurting us? And we have to look at this from all sides. We can't call ourselves astute, informed, or well-rounded unless we examine this from every angle. Would you both agree?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Having said that, as you have seen, emotions have run high. The output has run high. There has been no shortage of dialogue as it relates to this conversation, most of them being one-sided, most of them presenting in a way where they're passionate about either this way 100% or that way 100%. So I thought it'd be valuable to bring together some minds of high intelligence that can articulate both sides of the coin for the benefit of the viewers. So here is the protocol that I'll employ for this particular dialogue. What I would ask you to do is I'll have each of you make an opening statement, and then I'm going to read 3 questions, the same ones that I shared online 2 days ago. We're going to read those questions, and each person will have an opportunity to respond to the question, and then in the second round, you can offer a rebuttal if you so choose to each question. Any questions about that protocol?
Sounds good.
All right. Opening statement. We'll begin with Brother Willie, please.
In regards to, is Ice Cube helping or is he hurting? I would say that Ice Cube is helping because I see what Ice Cube is attempting to do as another step in helping us as a people to become more political savvy, not to continue to be used where we continue to be loyal with our political participation, but what we get back in return doesn't match our loyalty, right? Doesn't match our commitment. So I think what Ice Cube is doing is it is helping us because it's showing us what other groups do as it comes to with their vote, right? Like I thought about it. How is it when you look at the state of Israel? Let's just look at Israel. How is it that no matter what candidate in their political party that gets into the office of the U.S. presidency, each of those candidates, regardless of their political affiliation, tend to always still be right lock and step within the best interest of Israel. And one of the reasons why I believe that happens is because they make sure they present their agenda to each candidate. They make sure that they use their political power and even their financial power. So in short, yes, I believe that what brother is doing, I don't see it as hurting us.
Okay, Brother Kenric, opening statements.
Well, in regards to whether or not Ice Cube is actually helping us, I can't see how it's been beneficial. That's the standpoint that I have, and here's the play on that. We are not necessarily being loyal to the Democratic Party. Let's just be clear on that. It's not a thing of whether or not we're being loyal to them. A long time ago, we made a decision as a group, as a culture. Hey, listen, we're going to master this tool of politics. We're going to master it, and we're going to use it for our benefit. Okay, so what's our best tool? We're in a two-party system now. We can either use the Republican Party or we can use the Democratic Party. Which one are we going to use? How are we going to use this to our benefit? And we made that decision. We have influence in the Democratic Party. We do. We can't go to the Republican Party and ask for X, Y, and Z and have anybody in key positions that look like us that's going to pull the trigger. We don't have that. Mm-hmm. We can hold feet to the fire of the Democratic Party because politics is all about how many votes do you bring to the table. Now you have a stick in your hand. You can beat somebody with that. So how does it behoove anyone to go to the Republican Party 2 weeks before their second election for office? Not their first, but they've had 3.5, almost 4 years to do X, Y, or Z, and they haven't done that. So how does it behoove you to go to them in the fourth quarter with 1 minute and 41 seconds left and say, hey, we want you to do something for us? You're not moving their needle. You don't have the influence in their party to do anything. You're not bringing any votes to their party. It's just not what's going to happen. They're counting on maybe getting 20% of our vote, maybe. What is that? How significant is that for them? Yes, so it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't behoove us to go there. It behooves us to use this tool over it. And again, it's only a tool. We're not just giving blind loyalty to them. We know where we have influence. So now we use that, get as many people in key positions as we possibly can, and then we can be powerful and effective.
Understood. You are tuned in to the Rockwell Radio Show, and today's topic, as you can tell if you've been watching already, we're asking the question, is Ice Cube helping us or hurting us by his CWBA move? It's been a hot topic. People are clued in, tuned in, turned up, and they're emotionally hot about it. If you're watching, make sure that you hit the like button, hit the share button, because everybody needs to be tuned in. Everyone needs to be informed. We can't rely on just the emotion. We need to get motivated and do something. If you're watching via YouTube, make sure that you please hit the notification button, subscribe. I tell you, you'll have hot shows like this. What we cover here is hip hop, politics, and the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad all under one roof. Where else can you get it? So let's jump right into the questions. And the reason I chose these 3 questions is because they are the ideas that I kept seeing referenced and made again and again and again. They were very redundant themes. So I thought they'd be worth pulling into the dialogue. Here's question one. And this was the idea I have seen the most. Is Ice Cube serving the people or himself? Brother Will, I'll start with you.
Oh man, I don't from the interviews that I have watched, brother, and what I will say is, am I engaging people in conversation about this thing with Ice Cube? I'm noticing there's a lot of misinformation. You know, some people are seeing that Ice Cube went to the Republican Party, but he did not. They came to him the same way that the Democratic Party came to him. And if Ice Cube would have gone in the very first year of President Trump's, or even before President Trump was actually elected, people would have still had an issue, because in this political system with our people, we have been taught, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, directly or indirectly, where it's all things Democrat. So we're so focused on this that we never even, not everybody, but the majority of us never even open our mind and say, you know something? They want our vote and they want our vote. Let me see what I can get out of this for my actual self. And I'm going to show you one of the benefits that is taking place. One of the criticisms that the Democratic Party or the campaign under President or Vice President Biden is facing right now is saying that the party has not done enough to pursue black men, right? That's what they're saying.
Right.
Now with this whole thing with Trump, and listen, man, black people are not dumb. We understand that when Trump talks about the crime bill and all of that other stuff, it's not that he gives a damn, but he's trying to siphon off a section of the vote. But black people understand that, right? The vast majority understand that. And this is why 80% of black men voted for against Donald Trump in 2016.
Right.
But as a result of, as insincere as it may seem, as it is, as a result of them trying to get more black men to vote Republican, now it has made Biden's campaign, you're seeing the news articles, that they're doubling their efforts to go after black men. So that's one of the indirect benefits, because they realize that, if we continue to forsake this population and not go after them as hard as we should, then they may end up getting more than the 13% that they actually got last time. So in an interview, Ice Cube was asked that about, is he doing this for himself? And Ice Cube said, man, he can be like many of the other millionaire black folks that we have that don't put this on. They're not talking about putting an agenda to bring to the Democrats, but bring to the Republicans, but not even to the Democrats. So I don't think brother is self-serving. He's doing this as a way of self-serving. I think that brother is doing this from what he said in his own words. He's doing this because he, like many others, are tired of seeing black folk not getting what we deserve.
And and I'll say that I'm not under the impression necessarily that he.
Before you start, brother Kenric, is this a rebuttal or is this your response to the question?
Just my response to the question.
Okay.
From my standpoint, I don't know that he is necessarily being self-serving. I know there's a lot of theories out there whether or not one of his business partners is really good friends with Trump, and if that has anything to do with it. I believe if we look at Cube just as a man, as his body of work, I think that he's, over the years, he's grown from an artist to a father, and so we've seen him, and a businessman. We've seen his growth. We've seen where he's put down certain things and picked up other things, and everything that I see about him says that he's been genuine in his mission, genuine in his purpose. I just believe that right now he's missed the mark. That's it. I don't think that there's anything that he's doing that's a back deal, but I don't know. It could be quite possibly motivated because at the end of the day, he's still a capitalist. That could be part of it. I don't necessarily have that evidence, but what I do know is that Trump only goes after our entertainers and our sports athletes. He doesn't sit down with brother Willie Muhammad to say, hey, brother, what are we going to be doing in the community? What should we be doing? He doesn't sit down with people who are right here in St. Louis. I know so many people who are activists who are leading the way, who are actually got boots on the ground, not just here, but then you got people in Seattle, you got people in Chicago, New York, everywhere. He doesn't sit down with any leaders that are really doing the work. And this is how you know what he wants to do. He wants to entertain us. President Trump wants to entertain us. So he goes to our entertainers.
And I want to share a perspective on that. Think about this. Look at how the methods that are being used by various parties to get our attention politically. Oftentimes when Black people's attention and support in America is sought, most of the time the first people that people reach out to get the entertainers, right? Get the sports athletes. You want to get the children to be well in school? Bring a football player to the school. Bring a basketball player to the school. You want to get them to do something? Put an entertainer in front of them. So what I'm saying that to say is, this is what one part that we as a people, we have to address, because we have in our ignorance, we have contributed to people this view that the way to Black people's hearts is through entertainers.
Right.
It's through athletes.
Right.
And we have to change that. And let's look at it. Look at who, like the conversation, and there's no shot at our sister Cardi B, but here you had Biden on an interview with Cardi B. And that was to do what? To get Black votes from that segment. So what I'm saying, and I'm putting this is on us as a community. What we have to do, and that's what Brother Eric was saying.
Is that demeaning? Is that patronizing?
Yeah,
for me, absolutely.
Because think about this. I saw a clip where our brother, highly intelligent, and I encourage everybody to support his show, Brother Roland Martin. When Clinton was running, he's showing up how to do the Tootsie Roll. She goes on the Breakfast Club. They're asking about, does she keep tobacco sauce in her purse? Like, you only see us doing that. And we've gotten to this mindset where we have accepted this view where we believe that the way you get people's attention, like, for example, I'll say in New Orleans, right? When they talk about voting, look what Black people say. Black folks, man, the way you get Black people to the voting poll, we need to put on a second line. And if anybody from New Orleans, you know what a second line is. We need to get the rappers to talk about it, right? Remember, even prior to this, who was behind the campaign when they was talking about rock the vote? That wasn't a Republican-driven initiative when you had Puff Daddy and all of these entertainers. So we have contributed where we will now, with a person with the mindset like Donald Trump, a sick mindset, where he would think, because think about him. He came up in this environment. And so he's a man who has money. Think about the number of Black politicians who, when they came to him, they really come with their hat in their hand begging for money. And the disrespect that it gives him, the lack of respect that it instils that he gives him for politicians. So he feels like, listen, I might as well go out there and entertain these entertainers. And that's something that we have to correct.
But that only works with the youth. We are at a particular age. When you get to your 30s, your 40s, your mind starts to work a little bit differently. You lived a little bit. You've seen all the tricks. You know what I mean? You've seen all that. And then you can say, wait a minute. I don't need Puff Daddy. I don't need all these celebrities to tell me who I need to endorse. I have a mind and I have a voice. I already know this. I'm politically savvy now. I've been voting for a decade, 2 decades now. That works for the teenagers and the 20-year-olds. At least it should. It should only work for them.
It should, but it unfortunately, my brother, it has some of the adults too.
And I'll say on that point, what is that Republican, that guy? Not Willie Nelson.
Rush?
That
Limbo?
I can't think of his name. That he was an older celebrity, and I assume, but I think that as we all know, they aim more towards an older generation to begin with. I know very few young conservatives or conservatives on the Republican side. But if you all are okay, we'll move to the next point.
Sure.
The next point. And again, if you just tuned in, you're watching. The conversation is Cube helping or hurting us? This is the Rockwell Radio Show. With us are my brother Kenric Richardson, who is representing the point of view that perhaps our brother is not. And on the other side of the screen there, you see our dear brother Willie Muhammad is definitely a proponent and believes that our brother does have the Black community at the best of heart. Here's question number 2. And again, if you're watching via YouTube or if you're watching via Facebook, I encourage you to be a part of the show. You may leave a comment, ask a question, and I will be sure to check that box and make sure that your questions are included in the part of the show. Here's question number 2. Is the contract with Black America a good idea that was just presented too late due to the election being right around the corner? Is it just a matter of bad timing? And this question kind of speaks more so to those who take issue with CWBA. So is this just simply a matter of bad timing? I'll start with Brother Kenric.
You know what? I firmly believe, one, it was extremely bad timing as far as putting his feet to the fire and going, well, okay, so we understand that they reached out to him. This is something that he's been sitting on for months. This is something that really should have been in play for the last. Politics is seasonal. You have certain seasons to politics, just like in football. You have a preseason. You have the off season. You have the regular season. Then you have the postseason. There's seasons to it. What you're going to do in the off season is not the regimen you're going to be doing during the regular season. So going to the Republican Party and saying, hey, or put this into your platinum plan. Come on, you got to know that's super disrespectful right there. The platinum plan.
you can see the rope hanging around his neck.
Horrible. But this was not the perfect time to do this. This would have been something that you would have drafted right after he got elected and said, hey, listen, okay, you're elected now. You're sitting in that seat. This is the contract we need to have, and we need to see some dividends from that. Or you will not have a second term. And then we stand on that. That's how you hold their feet to the fire. You don't give them hope. You don't. They're looking now. They gave us nothing for 4 years, and now they have hope to get a second term. We're going to give them hope, and they proved to us that they weren't going to do anything. So I think this was very bad time. It should have been done in the second quarter of his first term.
Brother Willie, do you want to respond, or do you want to?
I would just bring this perspective.
Okay.
When the analysts about the timing of Ice Cube's contract is discussed, if you notice, it's always discussed from the standpoint of, well, why did he bring it to, even though he didn't bring it, why was it presented to the Republicans at this time, right? But remember, he also presented it to the Democrats as well. Like, we can ask the same question, even though what's the name is not in office, but he's running for, he's only like a couple of months before he's going to be elected, right? And so what Ice Cube said was this. He said that, like, yo, I'm an artist. And he said when he finally had the opportunity to slow down with this COVID and he saw what happened with George Floyd, he was like, yo, what are we doing? So he got to work. And what it also shows is a greater problem that we're suffering from as a Black community, which is we're not as united as we need. We have too many people in different parts working on their own thing. Because if we were united, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been traveling around when he was talking about we have to connect the heavens to the earth, talking about the intellectual and political savvy and economically savvy people with those in the trenches. And because we don't have that, so now like a person like Ice Cube can think that nobody's doing anything. But if we were connected, if the head was connected to the body, then we can understand, like, yo, let's bring this together, right? And begin to start doing things. I don't think that the timing, to me, is better late than never. We got to do something, because Ice Cube asked a very important question to our brother Roland Martin. He said, you all are talking about me presenting this to him. He said, but you all saying that we have a plan that we've offered to Biden. He said, but what if Trump wins? Then what have we offered him? I was doing some research and I came across this article. There was a sister in Flint, and she was talking about the efforts that were being taken place when the Democrats were coming to Flint, Michigan, trying to get their vote for the presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton. And she said that, listen, everybody was so gung-ho and ready to support Hillary Clinton. She said, but Hillary Clinton lost the campaign. And so now they lost the campaign. What did they offer the opposition? Right? And so, you know, we there's this thing that said if you're not at the table, you on the menu. So I think it was good. And here's the thing too. And I understand our brothers and sisters, and as our brother said, you can't argue with what he said, that Trump doesn't have a track record of keeping his word to black people. But I think about from a scripture standpoint, God sent Moses to Pharaoh, and he told Moses before he sent him to Pharaoh, he said, I'm sending you to Pharaoh, and I've made Pharaoh's heart harden. So we can ask the question like, damn, God, why you send Moses to Pharaoh and you know you've made his heart harden? Maybe him sending Moses to Pharaoh was a way to further indict Pharaoh, to show that I'm giving him an opportunity to get it right, but he's not going to get it right.
Now,
So
if I may,
in regards with this, he brings it to Donald Trump, who's this man that has the audacity to stand before the world and says he's done more for black people than any president since Abraham Lincoln. And we could debate the whole thing about Abraham Lincoln, but at least we can show that, hey, we came to you with a plan that our community put together, not something that you got together with those black people that are coming to you, who we know most of them are selected and they think in a certain box. But the overall principle is it wasn't so much about it. It is not so much about presenting something to Trump, because remember, this was presented to both parties. Both parties. Like if you look at the Lift Every Voice and Sing, and you look at the platinum, and I agree with brother, that's some shade that they threw. When you look at both of them, there's some issues that are important and relevant to black people that are missing from both. But at least
I'm gonna jump in just to that time. And Kenric, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I wanted to give a rebuttal to that. So when you say at least we offered something to Trump, here's my problem with that. If you look at it that way, you're not going to win anything. Again, this is his second term. So regardless of whether you offer him something or not, he's running away with the bag. It doesn't matter. You can go present something to him, and if he wins, screw you. Screw us. He doesn't have to honor that. And he showed us time and time again that he will not. Nothing he has done in 4 years tells us he's going to do anything. So for me, offering him something means nothing. That's what you do for someone who is coming into office. When it comes to Biden and his camp, he's not in office. He can't make any promises to you. He's not the one in power. So when he says, hey, listen, we're going to get together once we get in power, you have the influence, because we are all a part of, well, not all of us, but the Democratic Party is where we have our influence. You hold those elected officials' feet to the fire, and now you can move the needle. You cannot do that when it comes to the Republicans. What they can do, here's Trump. Hey guys, let me go ahead and meet with you now. Yeah, because he knows he has to try to get those numbers up. Yeah, let me go ahead and meet with you now, real quick. Let's go, let's get it in. Because I know they're not going to do it, but he knows they're not going to do it because they have nothing to offer right now until they get the power. So now he goes ahead and sits down with you just to try to get those numbers up. What does he have to lose? He has zero to lose, because then afterwards, all he can say is, hey, listen, you know what? The budget, I thought it was going to be X, Y, and Z. He's going to play you like a fiddle, like he's been doing. Do we know and understand what happened with the HBCU funding? They had that and let it lapse. They let that funding lapse. And then he comes back with a presidential decree that, hey, we're going to give you back that money. What do you mean you're gonna give us back the money? It was your party in the first place that took it away from us. The only thing he's doing is playing political chess.
On the interview Q recently did with the Queens and Cocktails, he said these words. He said, I don't know what that Trump will do. My objective was to, and I'm quoting him, is to get him on the record making a campaign promise. If he breaks his promise, it wasn't that he made a promise to me. He made it before the world. And now we will have him on record breaking his promise.
And we have him on record. We have him being impeached. And that doesn't mean anything to him. He's on record being impeached. So if you think that you getting him on record going against a campaign promise is going to do anything to him, the man has been impeached and he still acts the way he acts. Come on now.
But the same thing in regards to, it's no guarantee that we know that Biden is going to carry out what he's promised.
I agree.
And we can't just say, because traditionally, I mean, when you look at it, traditionally, Democrats have been a little bit more tolerant, a little bit more hearing to Black demands, but there's no guarantee as well. So you got to, let's think about this. Do we sit here today think that Joe Biden and his campaign wouldn't value the endorsement of Ice Cube? They will value it. So if that's the case, like, to tell somebody we'll talk to you after the election, yo, there's no guarantee that you even are going to win the election. So at least the thing is, we can ask the question to them. If you all say that 85% of what Ice Cube presented, you all agree with it, then why couldn't you make a commitment to something of that 85% before November the 3rd? Why somebody with such influence like that, we're going to wait until after the election? Because when I hear that, to me, it sounds more like, once again, they're taking they're taking us for granted, that they know we got their support.
If I can just say this very quickly.
Okay, this will be your last response before we move on to the last question.
Just real quickly, as a part of political strategy, if I say to you, or if you say to me, hey, listen, just after the election, we're going to sit down and talk, I would say, all right, now you get in office. When it comes to the Democrats, you don't have full power yet. You still have to get the House of Representatives and the Senate. And I don't know why we always forget civics class and understanding how important Congress is to the way that this whole system works. But the president has an uphill climb if he does not have the Senate or the House of Representatives. So I'm fine with, hey, listen, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire because I have more people on the Democratic side. I have more votes to bring to you when you're trying to get a majority in the House, when you're trying to get a majority in the Senate. When it comes to the Republicans, I don't have a stick to fight with. You'll be able to run away with the House. Or you'll be able to run away with the Senate because they have the control of the Senate right now.
Right.
So I know that if they balk on their agreement with me, the Republicans don't care. All they need to do is win the Senate, and they're cool because they know that I can't touch them there, but I can touch you with the Senate or with the House with the Democrats because I'm going to be bringing the votes there. That's just the political strategy that I see.
And that's one of the things that I dislike about this whole political system.
Oh yeah.
Because in the end, you find where people begins to be less about what's beneficial for the populace, what's beneficial for the actual people, and people begin to start, drawing their lines in the sand based upon their political affiliation. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, and that's a whole nother discussion that has to be had, because I personally think that this two-party system, I don't think that is beneficial. I was doing some research and because I was wondering, like, man, how is it that when we have these presidential debates, it always ends up to be two people, but then when you go to the polls, there's a bunch of other people that's running for office of president. I understand you can have some people that just crazy, but then they've come up with something where you have to raise a certain amount of money and getting a certain amount of support or whatever from the community, from the people, for you to even be able to be present at these debates. And to me, it shouldn't be like that, because we are dealing with two parties that have a long history, right? And they can set the rules and do the little thing to manipulate it to keep somebody else out of it.
Having said that, before we move to the next question, Brother Kenric, would you agree that the two-party system really needs to be done away with? Would you say that brother's right?
I will say this. Don't worry. One day it will be over. Well, now, we might not live to see that, but history tells us right now we are currently in the two-party era. But we've also had an industrial era. We've had an information era. You know, eras start and they come to an end. There was a time where you had a lot of parties, the Whig Party, and you had all the Federalist Party. You had all these parties, and then they said, "Well, wait a minute. I only care about X, Y, and Z. You care about X and Y, but let's get together because they don't really care about Z anyway. But let's form together, and we'll be more powerful than them." And so that happened. And then they got smart and did the same thing, and they consolidated. And now you have the two-party system. But political history shows us that there will come an end to this particular system the way it is now, and we'll have a whole new way of thinking, way of aligning. Right now, what I've seen within the two-party system, the best way to do it is to infiltrate one of the major parties, influence that party, and then now you got the ball rolling. In the same way, when the Southern plan, the Southern Democrats, when they were recruited by the Republican Party, how do you think how do you think that party became so overwhelmingly racist? Because they went down to the South and said, "Hey, you guys think the way we do. Come on over here real quick." And they left the Democratic Party and went over to the Republican Party. That happened. Look at the Tea Party, how they influenced the Republican Party here very recently. So there's certain ways that you affect parties within the two-party system. But I promise you, one day, again, we might not see the end. We might not be there when it happens, but it'll go away.
So and the example that our brother that he shared, like with the Tea Party, he said how there's certain ways that each of the parties can be influenced. And I agree. I'm just not sure that we as a people know how to actually use that strategy. You see what I'm saying? And I think we need to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I see the value in what Ice Cube is doing, because I see it as us growing to where we can begin to start leveraging our power to begin to get more of what we want for our dollar. Like, for example, I had the opportunity, I went in and early voted this week, right?
Yes, sir.
And I know for a fact, brother, locally, there are things that there are candidates for different, like magistrates, DA, and different other little smaller races that I know when people from our city go into there, they haven't done any research on much of those. Most of them only thing that they know is this presidential campaign, Trump versus Biden. And we have to begin to start, like, we can't just keep the focus on there, because what happens, most people go in and when they get behind that curtain, most of them would not feel good to not hit select on somebody. So what happens is some people are just selecting people that they know nothing about.
All they
want to be educated and make sure that our vote really counts and has sustenance. We have to be more politically educated, and we can't just solely keep the focus on just this big campaign that takes place, every 4 years.
Absolutely.
Hey, brother, one of the things that I would hope that
we got to move on. Let's move forward.
Let's hear him make that point. I want to hear him make that point. Let me make that point.
Well,
And we
Okay,
got-
real quick. What I was going to say is that one of the things that I hope that we can do, those who are in the know, those that are active and we're at a certain age and we're leaders.
Right.
One of the things I would love for us to do is to get together and for us to actually start raising up our homegrown candidates and putting people who we know will be qualified and getting into those positions. You know, I know we love to send our kids to the HBCUs, and I want us to continue to do that. I also believe there's a benefit for some of our kids to go to the Ivy League schools, where all these other kids who are able to run for senator, whose families have them running for senator and for president, that they go to as well, so they can be competitive and we can get them to a place where we can have them as candidate for governor, candidate for Congress, et cetera, et cetera. Because the more people that we put that look like us in those places to succeed, we'll start to be able to move that needle.
I agree. I definitely agree.
We agree. Let's get to a hot button. And I want to start moving towards closure. We're in the last 5 minutes of the show, and it looks like this is going to go over. So if you are rocking with us, and please hang on, because I guarantee you this is about to get even more interesting. As I said, these questions that I formed have been based off of my observation of the responses I've seen Ice Cube get in social media, mainly Twitter. Some of it has been really, really rough. And the point of the show is just to see, is it been justified? Listen to this question, and I want you to listen to it thoroughly. Is Cube the right messenger for the message? And that has layers to it. Allow me to explain, give a bit of context. He's been accused of hypocrisy with statements like the line that went, "I'll never have dinner with the president. I'll never have dinner with the president." He's been pointed out. This is the same man that told us a bitch is a bitch. And now you want to advise us in politics? This is also the man that has been charged with not being able to articulate his own contract while he was on Como, or while he was on
Roland
Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not going to provide my point of view of yay or nay, for or against in those points, but I would like to hear, having said those things, is he the right man to be articulating this message? I'll start with Brother Willie.
In regards to that, I think Cube is seeing himself as a catalyst to begin this whole process in regards for us to begin to start getting more from our political participation and our participation in this political process. So if you watch the interviews, he's not saying like, "Hey, I came up with this." He has worked with other people who helped to put together the contract for Black America, and he's also calling other people to help him. People who are grassroots, people who are other political officials. I saw our sister Deborah Jackson Lee from Texas reached out to him. They're supposed to be sitting down. Right. So I don't get caught up into that, man. And one of the things that we have to be careful about, we can't put a period, as the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan teaches, we can't put a period on somebody's life while they're still living, because people are still growing. Right. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of see that. I got the scriptural standpoint. Like when the people saw Jesus and Jesus was bringing them the word of God, some of them said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" They wanted to keep him where he was. You see what I'm saying? So in regards with that, Cube is not portraying himself as the mouthpiece. He's just saying, "Listen, I had an idea and I'm moving out on it." And he actually felt like that he moved out on because he felt like, from his standpoint, that nobody else was doing anything, which there are other people doing stuff. But I said that's a problem of us not being connected. So I don't have a problem with it being Cube. See it as a relay race.
I can understand that. Here's what I want to say. I want to say, man, I love and respect Cube. Just from what I've seen, he's one of the OGs in the game. You know, I'm about the same age as hip hop, and so I've kind of grown up watching. when it comes to my politics, and I appreciate the attention that he can bring to the table, I wish he would have been able to sit down with someone like Angela Davis, one of our leaders who's proven, who has a voice, and some of the people who are, with the Black Caucus. How can you have this idea of, let me go to Washington, or let me talk to the people in Washington, and not even reach out to our Black Caucus? That doesn't even compute to me. I don't understand that. Or why would you think that no one is in Washington doing anything? We have people who we've elected and put there to do something, hold their feet to the fire, because they're the ones who have our best interests at heart. So, again, I think that I appreciate the words that our brother Willie just shared with it and put the light on. I don't want to squash him out of the conversation. I don't want him to necessarily take a knee, but I think there are other people who can articulate the message more concisely.
In response to that, brother Willie?
All of us play a part, man. How something begins is not necessarily how something is going to actually end. So when you're in the limelight, man, I'll give you an example. You have people who, if Black Lives Matter would have done it, you'd have found people who said, who the hell is Black Lives Matter, to come up with an agenda. You see what I'm saying? So I think at this point, those who have, and Ice Cube said this, he said that he was reaching out to folks, but didn't get any response back. So now the thing is, those who have the skill, those who have the ability to actually help him to refine certain parts, this is their opportunity to reach out to him. So now, what about those who know that he has it? Are they reaching out to him?
I got a chance I was gonna say, I got a chance to read the contract, and I have zero problem with the actual contract. It seems to point to some of the things that we already know that need to be addressed. Mm-hmm. And it was multiple points, point after point after point. I'm like, wow, that those are some amazing points right there. It's just that the process of getting with both of the parties and both of the camps, I don't see how it's been beneficial other than sparking the conversation. But if you want to say, hey, that was the thing that moved us, then hey, there you go. But other than sparking the conversation, I don't see how valuable it has been to this point.
Last comment on this point before we move on. If you have any at all.
Some of our brothers said that was point, but I look at it as, my brother, is this is one more step in this process to get us as a people to be more politically educated, one person using the chat, politically mature, right? And I think about the impact that Ice Cube doing this, a legendary rapper, that it may begin to start having on them other mindset of other entertainers, that I need to begin to just stop thinking about my Rolex and my Beamer and begin to start thinking about this political process that is going to affect me and my children. And I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say this. He said, when doctors are dealing with a patient that's paralyzed, if that patient wiggles just a little, one toe on their feet, or one of their feet, right? He said the doctors are excited. So I'm encouraged to see that brother had the idea to do this. And was it the timing? We can all go back and forth about the timing, because when President Barack was running for election, when people want to present him with a black agenda, people were saying it's not time yet. And this was right before he wasn't even in office. So people would always argue that, right? In regards to this. And I saw an interview where Ice Cube said he looked at the other black agendas, and a lot of them were dealing with social platforms. So he said, let's put together one that deals with more on an economic perspective. So that's why I shaped like that. But it is now growing. But something our brother Eric said, which is we can't let it go, is we have to begin to start shaping and growing and putting our money behind our own candidates. We got to begin to start doing this and educating our people on how to use the vote.
I got to tell you this. We have a bunch of sisters who are here in the St. Louis area who are really getting politically involved. I can just call out a couple people. Miranda Jones, she's one of the older women in the Jennings area. You have Corey Bush, who is a young lady who I actually went to high school with, who she's running for the Senate right now. And we just see a lot of people who have been out in Ferguson and in other areas of life who are really doing the work. And I want us to all be able to recognize who in our own communities are doing the work like that and putting those people in those positions so we can push them higher.
I agree. We have to, man. We have to. And another thing too, like we have to let our people know that there are other important elections that, in addition to this presidential election, that affects us as well. So it's about being politically educated, and that's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been pushing. That we begin to be, in addition to pushing people for the register to vote, that be educated about the process. Be educated, as brother talked about with the Senate. Most people don't even know that, man. So we got to be educated and know how the system works and be organized.
Moving to close. For all of you watching, thank you. We're now in overtime, as I thought that we would go into for this very important show. Again, this is DJ Rockwell, the nation's #1 DJ, and the name of the show is the Rockwell Radio Show. We're here every Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about the topics that matter. We cover the relationship between hip-hop, politics, and culture, and the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his top student, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. That's what we deal with here. And subjects like this are right up that alley. I took the time to put together a video based on the interview that Ice Cube did with the Queens and the Cocktails. It has a little humorous spin to it, but I did it to make a point. I want you all to watch it, and then I want you all to offer a comment. So watch this clip, then we'll come back and then we'll comment.
Welcome back to Cocktails with the Queens. We have Ice Cube here, and we are talking about his contract with Black America and some very legit questions here. Vivica, before we went to break, you asked about if the current administration has not done it in 3.5 years, why now is this massive push with 2 weeks before the election? I understand, Ice Cube, you've been working with this since June, July, but we're hearing about it now. So it looks really, I think convenient. A lot of Black folks, it looks very, I feel like I don't, and I know this isn't your intention, but I feel like, you know how they use us all the damn time. You know what I mean?
Both sides use celebrities, but check this out. The thing is this, I'm not here saying he's going to do anything, but he didn't make a promise to me. He made a campaign promise to the world. So he's on record for that. Now, we wanted Joe Biden on record. He has a plan, but I don't know if his plan really pinpoints Black people. So we want a plan that pinpoints Black people.
And as I fight to promote human rights and security, Israel and the Jewish community will always be a priority for me.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen.
Do you support reparations for Black people? Do you support reparations for Black people?
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
That was funny, man.
We could place a whole nother show.
Oh my God!
Alone.
That was low.
See that clip because I wanted to extract from it two things as we close. Because he later said in that same interview, it doesn't matter which white man to me because they are the same, and they abhorrently agreed with him. But the two things I want to extract from that in the form of a question that I'd like you both to answer is this. In that interview, he talked about, or the issue that they took up with him was the lack of involvement of women. Do you think that CWBA and the movement to make us get something for our vote is, and let me phrase it this way, is it hurting Kamala Harris's chances for us to elect the first Black female vice president? Should that be a matter? Well, you know what? Everybody shut up. We have a shot to put a sister in office. Is that something we should now? We'll let that go. The fact that she just said that, we'll let that go, just to give our sister a shot. Let's start with that question.
For me, I would still. That's still a part of my consideration. You know, whether or not she's qualified or if she's going to do the job to the level that I would expect for it to be done. I'm going to consider everything. So no, she's not off the hook. Let me say that she's not off the hook.
And I think in regards to what brother said, like, and the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan talked about this. In fact, at the historic Million Man March, where he said, like, we're growing past that thing where you're just going to get our vote just because you have black skin.
Right.
No, it's coming down to are you going to hear what we want, and are you going to do your best to accomplish what we want? It's no longer just because you are black, or we about to, it's the first time to get a black this, all of that, because that's just symbolic, right? That's just symbolic. And it's interesting when you think about this. I was gonna make this point, but I won't make it. But that's just symbolic. So we have to be about our issues. It ain't about what HBCU you went to. If you can do the Dougie, if you know how to do the electric slide, if you can recite the lyrics to Atomic Dog, if you can play a saxophone, we ain't into all of that. This is our agenda. What can you do?
Right.
And the other side of it is too, because and we'll say this because I've been talking a lot about the agenda, but then as a voting populace, we have to know what do we need to do to hold them accountable.
Good point.
And financially support them as well.
Good point. That comes into having very strong local leaders. When you have leaders in your area, your community, who know what they're doing, who understand politics and understand how to hold the next person above them to the fire, then you're able to do so much more.
And I think some of that pressure that was put on Joe Biden early caused him to select a black woman as his VP.
Absolutely. And then if we're going to do we're going to look at the track and how everything went. Listen, and I know we're not going to want to hear this, but if we're just talking politics, we owed that to Joe.
I'm sorry.
We owe that to Joe.
Oh, to give him credit for doing that.
We said, hey, listen, we want to get this man who looks like us into office. And we need you to be right behind him on his heels, give him the support and make it look good. Boy, you put on a good show. Support that man. We know you want the presidency. We know that you've been trying, but here's what you need to do. You need to play second fiddle to this guy. He did that for 8 years, and never once did you see him buckle or show anything other than devoted loyalty. So he does that. And now after everything is done, now he says, hey, whoa, hold on now. Pay me what I came here for. Because y'all know I really want this presidency.
You're tuned in to the Rockwell Radio Show. We have two wonderful guests with us that have been dropping knowledge and giving us some very, very, very insightful points of view on the Ice Cube subject. The question on the table has been, is Ice Cube helping us or hurting us? And you in the chat room have been keeping it live. I appreciate you all. I really wanted to open up the phone lines, but we're now 15 minutes over. I thank you all for staying this additional 15 minutes, man. I really appreciate it. At this point, let's move to closing statements from you both on the subject at hand, on what does this mean to the upcoming presidential election and the value of contract with Black America. So please offer your closing statements. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would be shocked if President Trump gets reelected. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see it happening. But I think in regards to what does it mean, regardless of who is in office, as Black people, we still need to continue to know how to not just freely give up our political support and get something for our support in the political process. That's what I would say.
And my closing remarks would be that I do not think that our culture should be canceling Ice Cube whatsoever.
That's a good point.
He's a brother just like us. We all are trying to get the same things accomplished for our people. We're just all going about it in different ways and in our own lanes. So with that said, that brother still has my respect, even if I disagree with any steps that he has made. What I hope that does is spark the youth, get them to be a part of this conversation where they need to be, and for us to make a decision that we're going to be in the polls. We're going to be there at the polls. We're going to be in the voting booth, and we're going to make this one count.
I think I could not end that on a better note. The brothers, they want to talk to you all. Can you all spend a few more additional moments with a phone call or two?
For sure.
Just a moment. Let's open up the phone line for just a moment, and then we're going to turn these brothers loose. You can give us a call right now, right here on the Rockwell Radio Show. The number is 404-919-7399. The number is 404-919-7399. These brothers are going to hold over for just a few moments. If you would like to call and ask them a question on anything that has been said today, and if not, we're going to close the lines and thank both of them for coming and giving so freely of their time and their opinion on this very, very important matter as relates to being politically learned, politically mature, and looking at the move of a brother Ice Cube and weighing its value. And most importantly, as brother just said, not canceling him. I like what Willie D said. Ain't nobody getting canceled. not him. Let's go to the live. Let's go to the phone live right now. You're on the line live right now with DJ Rockwell on the Rockwell Radio Show.
DJ Rockwell, stellar show, brother. Outstanding. I want to thank your two guests, my dear brother for life. Man, love you, brother, and my dear brother in Islam.
Brother,
right on. Outstanding, man. I don't question. I just wanted to show honor and respect to both of you brothers for showing your viewpoints, because you both bring relevant topics, relevant points of view, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to thank you, and again, show some love to the DJ Rockwell Show. Great show, brother.
Salute, my brother. All right, now.
Thank you for that love, man.
Whoever was calling, call back. Whoever was calling, call back. We're going to take this one more call, and we're going to wrap it up. And while they call back, let me make sure that everyone is well aware of where to tune in every Saturday, right here on YouTube, right here on Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern time, where we discuss hot topics like the one you're listening to right now. And I appreciate every one of you who are tuned in. You know what? That call is not going to call back. So again, brothers, man, thank y'all.
Thank you, my brother.
So much for your thoughts, your time.
Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate much love.
But DJ,
brother Willie, I gotta say, man, I gotta tell you, man, I thank you so much for the conversation, man. If there's anything that we can do together and work together going forward, man, I'd love to kind of collab with you.
Man, all the time, and we gotta find a way to connect you with our brother who's the alderman in St. Louis, man. I think you all can talk to.
Absolutely. There's always work to be done, man, and I'm always here for it.
All the time, man. And it's these type of discussions from different perspectives that brings us to a balanced perspective and a balanced agenda. So I appreciate it, man. And thank you, brother DJ Rockwell.
Yeah, one more call before we go. He snuck in right under the wire. Caller, you on the line live.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam.
I am so honored that you answered my phone. I just wanted to say, brother, that both of y'all had some balance points, and I appreciate the balance that you both presented.
I'm sorry, brother. You didn't say who's calling. You didn't say who you are.
Oh, Brother Patrick Muhammad from Detroit, who live in Virginia right now. I'm sorry,
yes,
brother.
sir.
I just said both of them brothers, man, presented a good point, bro, and I appreciate the balance that they both presented. But I think what Ice Cube presented is that he saw his friends, and we both saw his friends and his enemies. And I think a lot of them are mad because what he presented was responded to a quarter fast than anybody else that's been in the political arena. So I like the fact that he presented his plan to both groups, regardless of just one-sided like we always been.
Yes, sir.
You know, and Brother Willie, I got your steady guide, brother. So I don't how to study.
Thank you.
That's what I wanted to say.
Brother Patrick, thank you for listening, black man. Thank you for listening. Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate what the brother Patrick was just saying. I can't remember who it was. It might have been you, brother Rockwell. But somebody presented the question: who would you rather dance with? The devil that you can see, or the devil that you can't see? And for me, I gotta say that I know that both of them are devils. So for So for me, I just need to have my right dancing shoes on, because I'm going to do the exact same two-step.
Right.
I'm going to master this dance. I'm going to master this dance skillfully, and I'm going to dance the same way I was dancing in the first place.
And man, it's interesting, and it's what brother was saying. I was reading where there's an article where Biden was using the example how I don't know if he was in the Senate, of how he was able to negotiate with some of these Southern Republicans who were like, they were segregationists, right? Mm-hmm. He used it as an example to say how he was able to get things done even with people who were of that mindset, right? So like in politics, you're going to have some times where you're going to deal with some people that you don't like, but we got to be thinking about the end goal. And the last thing is people have options, just like people have the option where they want to choose the lesser of two evils. And we also have to honor people's other option to say, I don't want to choose any of them. That's their right. But we got to be able to do that. And as for the brothers and sisters who are watching this on social media, we should not lose any friendships over this political system, like what our brother talked about, that in some years it's going to be gone. So we can have passionate positions, but I'm not losing, as Albert Mr. Louis Farrakhan said, I'm not losing any position. I'm not losing any friendships over this election. We're gonna agree to disagree, but in the end, we know that after they're elected, we still got to come together and work to put pressure on whoever's in office and work to forge a way for ourselves.
And on that note, we close out the show. Yes, you should vote. Be an educated voter. Vote responsibly.
That's it.
See y'all next week. This is DJ Rockwell. Love y'all.
All right, brother. Now,
see you.
Peace.
Rockwell Radio.
Brothers and sisters.
Radio. Rockwell Radio.
Brothers and sisters.
Radio. Radio. Fuck. Rockwell Radio.
Brothers and sisters.
Radio.
Yo, this is Problem 13 of Wolverine.
Radio.
I'm listening to DJ Rockwell. Holla!